Hey there. It's great to see you. I don't see you, but I imagine all of your radiance. Um, so I'm thinking a lot about tools because as somebody who teaches a lot of tools and uses a lot of tools like astrology, enneagram, yoga, um, for my work, I hear a lot of things when I am around things like this pressure to have an opinion about a tool, like I like astrology or I don't like astrology, or yeah, I like the enneagram but I like astrology better, or I like um, you know e even outside of these particular tools, like I like this kind of exercise but I don't like this other kind of exercise. And what I realized at some point, and the exercise thing will become clearer in a moment. Um, what I realized at some point was that, like, oh, as humans, we are at this point in our evolution where, for a lot of us, we're still learning how to view all of these things as tools, as the tools that, to me, from my understanding, they really are. So much of what we learn in this life, in this world, is tools, right? So when we are born and we learn to use our bodies, our fingers, right, to pick things up, and our feet and legs to walk, these are tools to get us places, to help get things to our mouth, or, uh, whatever, however we need to manipulate our bodies and our environment in order to create some end that we want. So our bodies are tools. And then on, right? Language is a tool that we learn. Then we can do so much. A whole new level of experience, of power opens up to us once we learn language. Reading. Gosh, it's been a joy to watch my own daughter learn how to read and then start to, have this empowerment of, like, there's this book and I don't know what's inside of it, or there's this manual and I don't know what's inside of it. I can start to read, I can decode this, and it can give me information that gives me power. What a joy that is, as a part of being human, to learn tools. And as we progress, one of the things that's so remarkable about this incarnation is that we can keep learning until the day that it's time for us to transition to the next phase. And so, we can keep on discovering these potentials, this power that each tool brings to us. And so it's funny that we've actually been kind of, like, in a way, limited in our very own, or by our very own perception of these tools, because instead of seeing them as tools, we see them sometimes almost like something that we need to make a choice either to identify with or to disidentify with. For instance, I've been known to do this myself a lot. So when I started to practice yoga, I gained tremendous benefit from it. And then I kind of very quickly became obsessive, which is a tendency that I've had. And it became a sort of thing where, like, oh dear, like I practice yoga every day. That's what I do. And in a way, that sounds ideal, right? So many of us wish to get to that place with something in our lives where we get to that automaticity, that feeling of rhythm, where it's like, this is just what I do. And it doesn't matter what else is going on in life. This is what I do. And there's beauty in that, and there's a shadow in that. And the shadow in that is that it can become, and I see this with myself and with others around me, like oh, but if I don't do yoga today, like what has become of me? Or what, if I don't do yoga this week, it's like my whole identity is somehow connected to it in a way that is, I would say, limiting. Because when I'm overly identified with something, with a tool, then I actually lose my ability to have mastery over it, right? So if I am interested in living a very full life and having a very wide palette with many, many colors to paint with, then, and of course I can choose the other, right? I can choose to have fewer colors to paint with and see where that takes me. That's also a human prerogative. It's wonderful. You can choose one or the other. If I choose the former, then I may choose to learn a lot of tools, to keep learning tools. And then when I am in need of a certain tool, to really tune in at every moment and say, which of my tools can I use at this moment? And then I'm using yoga, and I mean in the good way, using, in a positive, healthy relationship, I'm using yoga when that's really like, okay, I need to get centered. And the tool that I know will do the trick, because I've danced with it enough to know that it does it, is, I'll center myself by doing a practice. So, and I want to also mention this thing about depth, right? Because there's this other thing that can happen, is that we kind of get so flitty that we don't spend enough time with any one tool to actually learn how to use it really well. And that's a prerogative too, right? That's our prerogative to choose that, to kind of just learn how to use the tools on the surface. And what's beautiful is that we have a choice around all of it, right? We can choose to just hone in really deeply and learn how to use, if I use the tool of yoga, it might at first appear to me like it's just a knife. But then when I'm using a metaphor here, but then when I keep on delving in and learning and exploring, I realize that, it's like a Swiss Army knife that also has scissors. It also has a nail file. It also has all these different things. And, that's a beautiful exploration. So we can choose. We are really completely sovereign in this dance. And it's really all about what we want to create. And that can change at any given moment. The thing that, that I really want to just shed light on, is that when we identify with these tools, whether it be, I am a cyclist, or I am, somebody that only eats, this kind of food this many times a day, etc., or whatever, that becomes a prison of our own making. However, that's not to say that those aren't wonderful tools, because we might choose to use those tools every single day because they work for us so well. The difference is a perceptual one, right? It's, do we identify with it, or do we stay in our seat as the sovereign master of these tools, right? We use them with respect, we honor them, and we maintain the seat of mastery and sovereignty. So one last thing I want to say is that there is a beautiful thing. It's not to discount this beautiful experience that can happen when we are using a tool, and, maybe it's meditation, or maybe it's chopping wood, right? And we're using our axe, or we're using the splitter, or whatever. And there's something that happens where we become one with the process, and identification completely dissolves, right? Our own sense of self completely dissolves. And that's one of the most rich experiences. And it's, written about in so many spiritual texts. And it's available to everyone. It's not some kind of special form of enlightenment that's reserved. It's something that we can experience right now. If you go out and choose to use a tool, to go do some gardening or go ride your bike, that state um, of of being in the zone is available to you. And so, as humans, we can choose our experience. It's not that we can control everything, not at all, but we have so much more choice than we imagine. And when we start to relate to our experience in this way, life just becomes so much fun, and we really experience and taste liberation. So that's all for today, and I'd love to hear what you think. If you want to comment on the video, and I will see you around. Bye-bye.